On March 11th, a tragedy occurred in Norcross, Georgia. Now, this tragedy involved two young boys. The oldest one that actually was playing in his garage in his actual home was 11. The other boy was a neighbor boy. Now, playing in your garage, that sounds very innocent. That's something I used to do on cold, rainy days. But the boy that lived at the house, the 11-year-old, he managed to find a gun in the garage. Now, this gun wasn't locked away. He started playing with the gun. He managed to pull the trigger, and the gun went off. His mom went running into the garage to see what happened, only to find her son had died. Could this accident have been prevented? Possibly. And it could have been prevented if the parents had kept the guns locked away, and if the child had known what he was doing. Thankfully, only one of the two children passed away, and that's actually very lucky. Home instances in the home occur with guns too often. As an ambassador with the National Rifle Association, I feel it is my duty to share this story and to teach everyone why this matters and how we can reduce it. Through my experience with being an ambassador, I have learned how important training is. Thankfully, no one close to me has died from a gun incident, but they have been careless and have managed to shoot themselves. But this can all be avoided. Earlier, I mentioned how too many accidents involving guns happen in the home. According to the National Institute of Justice, in 2011, about 415,000 firearm incidences happened. But why is this number so high? It shouldn't be this high. The number one reason why this number is so high is because the guns are not stored properly. In a 1996 survey that asked parents where they kept their guns in the home and how they actually secured their guns in the home, of this survey, they had 1,682 participants. 32% claimed that they owned one gun in the home. Now, of that percent, 61% claim that they have their gun in an open location, meaning easy access. 30% claim their gun is unloaded, but it is locked. And 7% claim that the gun is stored in a loaded fashion, but it is also unlocked. In other words, this gun is loaded and ready to fire. According to Ezrell, Miller, and Hemingway in 2000, males are primarily the gun owners in the home. However, this is not always the case. Between my fiance and I will be the first one to own a gun, and it will be both of our responsibilities to make sure that the gun is stored properly. But it's not just our responsibility when we become parents to make sure the gun's stored properly. And I'm not saying it's the child's responsibility, but the child should know how the gun should be stored, and they should also know how to respect the guns. Now, some of you might be wondering, but I can store the gun on the top shelf and my child can't get to it. But that's not true. Kids love to climb. Kids are very curious. They will find it. Even if you have the best hiding spot you can, they will find it. Now, in order to figure out the best way to store your guns, I suggest going to the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association has courses that you can take, and you can find these courses at www.nrainstructors.com. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want to learn how to use a gun, but they have two courses that I believe will benefit anyone in this room. One course It's on the lines of how to defend your personal self in the home. And even if you don't plan on owning a gun, it's still important to know how to protect yourself. Now, if you're not really fond of the National Rifle Association, I totally understand. But there's other ways to go about learning how to store your guns and how to protect your family. You can simply do what everyone can do right now, and you can Google the answers. Most people in here have a smartphone, and you can simply Google the answers. Now, if you want more of a personal, seeing someone face to face, you can go to your local gun store, and they'd be more than happy to help you. The gun store right by Burger King off the exit, the owner is fantastic, and he'd be more than willing to help you. Now, earlier I mentioned how it's not just the parents that need to know how to store guns or need to know about guns. Children also need to be trained. And I'm not saying you should take your child to the gun range and teach him how to shoot, because that's your choice. I can't tell you how to raise your child. But I can encourage you to teach your child what to do when they face a gun. There's many different programs online that you can find in order to teach your child how to handle guns or how to respect them. One of my favorite things that I love to teach when I'm working at summer camp is Eddie Eagle. Now, Eddie Eagle teaches gun safety. He teaches children, if you enter a room and you see a gun and there's no one else in the room, you need to stop what you're doing, leave the room, and go find an adult and then tell the adult. And I know that if we can at least teach our children this, the gun incident that occurred just a couple weeks ago wouldn't have happened if he had known what to do when he saw the gun or when he found the gun. Now, right now you might be thinking, I don't even plan on owning a gun. Why do I care about teaching my child this? However, you don't know what your neighbor has. Your neighbor could have guns. You don't know how they're stored, but you want your child to be friends with the neighbor so they have someone to play with. Instead, teach your child what to do when they come upon something like a gun. And this will reduce how many times a gun incident occurs in the home. It may not reduce it from the 415,000 to 0, but it will reduce the numbers. And the reason I'm teaching you all about gun training is because I want all of us to not lose our children by something like that. I want us to see our children grow up and to see them turn into the adults we are right now. And that's why gun training is important. We need to teach the future generations how to respect other things and other people. Thank you.